Hi, the position of the sun is probably one of the most important parts of your horoscope, which will tell you so much secrets about the person or about yourself, which can give you an indication even about your career, which can give you an indication of where to find actually the sun, as I have written here, will give you a sense of identity, the main role in your life. It will give you a sense of personal power, where you're going to get your personal power, your self-confidence, your self-esteem. And if you develop the house where the sun is situated, which I will teach you how to do this, you will gain all of those things. And usually the sun develops, starts becoming more visible and starts developing in the life, the energy of the sun, after the age of 30. So you might start seeing that you're filling up those roles indicated by the sun, and that your confidence and personal power starts coming better and better after the age of 30 and more visible. And how do you find which house the sun is situated in your horoscope at the moment when you were born? There are two ways, and I want you to check it both ways. It's complex to explain why, but there are two house systems, and I want you to check it both ways. They both work. One is based on the ascendant, on the signs. The other one is based on the separation of the space around by certain spatial measures, which is too complex to explain. Just make sure that you check both ways. Sometimes they will be the same, sometimes there will be a slight difference. How do you find the house system of the sun? You go to my website, AstroLada.com. You enter your time of birth. It's very important to know the house position of the sun. You cannot find it without the time of birth, because the house system are based on the time of birth. So this is only for people who know their time of birth at least within 10-15 minutes of exact time, and enter it. And once you get the chart, this is the chart I have. Those of you who know Western astrology, they might be using such a chart. It doesn't matter, it's the same, it shows the same. It's just the beginning of the chart that I have on my website starts here at the top, the first house. This is the horizon, the eastern horizon. The beginning is always the eastern horizon. We put it on the top in the in where my website is, but the Western chart will put the ascendant here on the on this side. You know, just the beginning of the two charts is different. And I want you to check where the sun is situated. The sun will be indicated by SU, the letters SU. And I want you to see in which of the squares it is situated, counting from the ascendant. So if this is always this first square is the ascendant, and this is how the other signs progress. So we want to see in what sign from the ascendant the sun is relevant to the ascendant. So you just count. For instance, the sun might be here. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's in the fifth sign from the ascendant. So you remember the fifth sign and you watch the video for the sun in fifth house. And I want you also to check in which house the sun is in relation to the Roman numerical numbers that I have on my website. They indicate house cusps. They're more specific. They're more how do I say, more sharp expression of the position of the sun. And for instance, here, it might be, where is the fourth square, it might be the third house cusp. It's the fourth sign from the ascendant, but it might be the third house cusp. And I want you to check if your sun is here, also the video for the sun in the third house. So basically, I want to, for instance, if your sun is like that, I want you to check the sun in fourth and in third houses, because both the number of signs the sun is from the ascendant will count as a house, and both the house cusp, which is with the sun will influence this house cusp. So the sun will feel like being in the third house and like being in the fourth house. And also here you might also have the cusp of the second house, the second Roman numerical, you know. So I want you, if you have two of those Roman numerical numbers, check both houses, third and second house, for the explanation of the position of the sun. For most of you, it will be very simple. Sun, it says here. If sun is here, it will be the second sign from the ascendant. So you check the second house and the second house cusp from the ascendant as well. For most of you, for 70%, it will be the same. The sign from the ascendant and the house cusp that is in that sign will be the same. But for some people who are born a bit to north, or too south from the equator, there will be a difference. And I want you to check specifically the Roman numerical number, what number it is. Check the video for that sign, for that house, and also for the number of the sun counted from the ascendant, in which square it is. Thank you. Sun in the 12th house, which is the 12th house is just the one before the ascendant here. This is how it will be shown in the Western chart. And when you see it together with the cusp of the 10th house, with the cusp of the 12th house, sometimes the cusp of the 12th house might be in the previous sign. So the sun might be like that. So if you have the sun in the 12th house or influencing the 12th house cusp, what happens then? Well, the 12th house is the house of dissolution. Because it's the last house, before everything is reborn again, it has to die, it has to be dissolved. While the sun is your personal ego, so there is a contradiction here. Basically, your identity might be dissolved, or for quite a while you might be wondering what you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do, trying to find yourself. There is a feeling of a bit of a loss, not being certain for some people with this position. Not being certain about the identity, especially not being able, this active masculine side of them being a bit hidden, or not being able to manifest it very easily. And this can be problematic before the 30s, or sometimes a bit later into life, but especially in the early part of life, this can be something with the person in the 12th that they show, or that they're kind of lost in their own world, and they're trying to find who they truly are, their true identity. But the 12th house is the house of the subconscious, is the house of the non-rational, the invisible world, and the sun is light, is visibility, is clarity. So you see how complex, how the energies of the two clash, and that's why sometimes it's possible that such people might be a bit, lost, or a bit, not clear about where they're headed. But later on, usually after 30 onwards, this improves with age. Also, the sun represents the father figure in the horoscope of most people. And for some people with the sun in the 10th house, especially if there's some difficult influences to the sun, usually the image of the father figure was missing, or it was unclear, or maybe there wasn't a father figure, or if he was there, he didn't have much time to spend, or maybe the father figure was victimized in some way, like an alcoholic, or like not having enough power, or not having enough strength, because 12th house is not an easy house, let's say. I know quite a few people who, for them, the father figure was either passed away, or has moved to the other, has moved away, or was not living around, or was not an example to follow. But it's not always the case. Of course, there are always exceptions, but this is one of the things that can happen. And for some reasons, after that, people feel a bit more difficult, find it so difficult to lead their life, because the father is usually the figure which shows you how to live the active role in your life, how to have self-confidence and self-esteem. And usually people, their self-confidence and self-esteem with the sun in the 12th house is a bit hidden, and they find it only later in life, maybe after 30 onwards, but before that, they might be suffering from, this an ability, to feel this confidence and self-esteem, but because it's the house of the subconscious, of the divine, is the house of the invisible world. Such people can be very strongly connected with the invisible world. Basically, can be psychic, can be intuitive, can be somehow. Like picking up messages and soaking up. They usually soak up everyone's energy. When they're around, they have to be careful, because such people are highly impressionable, and they soak up a lot just by being around others. That's why they have to spend time alone. It's very recommended, if you have the sun in the 12th house, if you have a child with the sun in the 12th house, give them their own private space where they try and sort everything out, because it's a bit of a mess for them, because they get overly impressionable easily, overpowered by others' influences. So they clean up when they retreat a bit. They need to have a place of retreat, a place of maybe some spiritual activities. If you're not spiritual, place where you can just watch some TV, read books, stay with yourself, because otherwise others can drain your energy. Don't dissipate your energy easily, because it can go out very quickly. When the sun is in the 10th, 12th house, it's your vitality, and the vitality can be dissipated easily. It needs more time for rest, such a person. The dreams can be quite vivid and crazy as well, and as I said, there can be some psychic abilities and strong intuitiveness. So it's good for those people to learn to read some spiritual books, to read some books on the invisible world, because they pick up also impressions from the invisible world. That's why they can be mediums and psychics, and they might think they're going mad or something. And sometimes if the sun has bad aspects, they can be picking up influences of very unhealthy spirits and spiritual influences from unhealthy spirits like alcoholism or addictions or escapism, anything. Well, it's not a requisite that if you have the sun in the 10th house, you can be like that. It has to be damaged somehow by different difficult aspects, but you might be prone to escapism to some extent. And you can deal with this escapism in the best way is if you're a creative, artistic person. So such people, they can be they can have a very good creative ideas, because they connect to some subconscious impulses. And those subconscious invisible words influences that they're having, they can reproduce them in music, in dance, in art. So these are people of art as well. When I see such influences, if you see someone with the sun in the 12th house and they cannot find themselves and they're feeling down, and it's more likely with people in the sun in the 12th house to be feeling down and to be indulging and to be allowing themselves to indulge in escapism tendencies, then you can mobilize them and you can energize them and vitalize them by recommending them something artistic. These people will excel in that, whatever it is, dancing, playing, whatever, anything which is to use this emotionalism which they have. The people with the sun in the 12th house, as I said, they're connected to the astral world, to undercurrent, psychological, emotional undercurrents, to use those to create something, because this is the collective unconscious, the 12th house, where things are unclear and where all the inspirations come from. This is the primordial sea, where everything emerges from, and those people have a stronger connection with this primordial sea of inspirations and the invisible world, so they can bring those inspirations down. So I would recommend artistic careers as well, or just artistic hobbies in some way, to be a channel of those energies. And also, very possible and good careers for people with the sun in the 10th house is also anything which is more included, where they work in institutions which are secluded from others, like research laboratories, like libraries, like hospitals, or being working in faraway countries, because 12th house is being far away from it's being basically somewhere where you're considered to be separated, from others. So usually going on charity, working in charitable institutions. 12th house is basically going to Africa to teach, or going around the world, or any profession which is with being away a lot from home. Or in being in some secluded environment, before maybe you could have been a monk or a nun, and now it's nurses, doctors, medical people. Is very good. But it's not the sun is not the only way by which to judge professions. This is just one of the astrological methods. There are another 5 or 6, so it's not necessary if you have the sun in the 12th to be a doctor, or to be in the medical profession, or in charity services, or in some kind of laboratory studying something, or in libraries. It's not necessarily foreign countries, but it's one of the possibilities, and as I said, it's very likely that those people will need more time to rest. They will need they have to be careful about who they include them in their own environment. As I said, they pick up influences easily. And the sense of confidence and self-esteem will come a lot from helping others. 12th house is the house of charity, of giving and spending. First of all, these people can be really good at spending. I know a few friends who have sons in the 12th house. They're like that, because 12th house brings expenses, and they're just like masters at doing that, at spending. but also it's the house of giving a lot. It's giving. So the best way is to be in professions where you're giving a lot from yourself. As I said, these are charitable. Or get, even if you're not such a profession, get involved with some charity. Give from your time for others. In this lifetime, it's usually people with the sun in the 12th house. They have some karmic debt to pay off, and the best way to do it is by giving to others unconditionally from yourself. And usually they're quite sensitive for the needs and for the pain of others and for the suffering of others, so they willingly give from themselves time or money or whatever they can afford. These are the activities that are very possible for people with the sun in the 12th house. Also, they can get involved with anything which is secretive, which is not on the surface, which others don't see. And interestingly, a lot of politicians have sun in the 12th house nowadays, which is showing what kind of politicians we're having. I don't think a lot of them are mystical and spiritual. I think they're more exhibiting the 12th house, more like something hidden behind the scenes. And, as presidents, there are many presidents and high-level politicians and business people with this position because they have to do something behind the scene, something hidden from the view of others, because 12th house is hidden, is secluded. And this is the law manifestation of the sun in the 12th house, though the higher is the more spiritual, mystical feeling, the more charitable, the one of giving, and the one of giving of yourself. So sometimes the life of such people can be quite hard, as I said, because of this karmic debt and because they have to learn the lesson of giving in this life and to do it generously and without reserve. So please, if you have the sun in the 12th house, share with us what are your how are the manifestations of the sun in the 12th house in your life. Thank you.